Most people think Solomon was just wise, but the Bible reveals something else. He did not just teach wisdom, he built an empire on it. And the business model he used, it's still working today. Not what tradition tells us, not what Sunday schools summarize, what's written. Because when you read 1 Kings carefully, you realize Solomon wasn't just a king who happened to be wealthy. He was a strategist, a builder, a man who understood something about value, scarcity, and influence that most leaders miss entirely. And it all starts with a single overlooked verse. 1 Kings 4:29 through 34 says this: God gave Solomon wisdom and very great insight, and a breadth of understanding as measureless as the sand on the seashore. He spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs numbered 1,005. He spoke about plant life, from the cedar of Lebanon to the hyssop that grows out of walls. He spoke about animals and birds, reptiles and fish. From all nations, people came to hear Solomon wisdom. Now most people stop, but God gave him wisdom. But notice what happens next. People came from all nations, not just Israel, not just neighboring tribes. The text says all nations came to hear him. That's not passive fame. That's a magnet. Solomon had something everyone wanted, and he knew it. Here's where it gets interesting. Wisdom in the ancient world wasn't just philosophy. It was practical knowledge: how to govern, how to build, how to negotiate, how to manage resources, how to avoid war, how to create wealth. Solomon wasn't just teaching people how to think. He was teaching them how to win. And kings don't travel across deserts for inspiration. They travel for advantage. Let's look at 1 Kings 10, the Queen of Sheba. Sheba hears about Solomon. She doesn't send a letter. She doesn't ask for a summary. She loads up camels with gold, spices, and precious stones. And she comes in person. Why? Because what Solomon had couldn't be bought secondhand. It had to be experience. Verse 3 says, Solomon answered all her questions. Nothing was too hard for the king to explain to her. And then this is critical, verse 10. She gave the king 120 talents of gold, large quantities of spices and precious stones. Never again were so many spices brought in as those the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. She did not pay him before the meeting. She paid him after, because the value was so undeniable. The payment was voluntary and massive. That's not tribute, that's a transaction. Now, here's the business model. Solomon had 3 layers of wealth generation, and they all worked together. Layer 1, monopoly on rare knowledge. Solomon didn't just know things, he knew things no one else knew. Botany, zoology, governance, architecture, diplomacy. He had spent years accumulating, organizing, and systematizing knowledge. And in a world where information traveled slowly, where books didn't exist, where oral tradition was fragile, someone who could answer any question was invaluable. Kings would pay anything to avoid a costly mistake. Solomon provided certainty in an uncertain world. Notice that Solomon didn't write his wisdom down and distribute it. He didn't send scrolls to every nation. He made people come to him. If you wanted his insight, you had to travel to Jerusalem. You had to bring gifts. You had to wait. You had to prove you were serious. And when you finally got in the room, the experience was so overwhelming that you left changed. You told everyone. That's not just wisdom. That's a brand. Verse 10:14 says, the weight of the gold that Solomon received yearly was 666 talents. That's roughly 25 tons of gold per year. Not from war, not from taxes alone, from trade, consulting, and influence. Let's pause here, because this is not just ancient history. This is a blueprint. Solomon understood something most people miss. Wealth does not come from working harder. It comes from controlling what is rare and valuable, and positioning yourself as the gateway to it. He did not compete, he monopolized. He did not chase clients. He made them come to him. He did not hoard his wealth. He reinvested it into infrastructure that multiplied his reach. Now here's the part that makes this uncomfortable. Solomon's wealth wasn't just a blessing, it was a system, and systems can be replicated. You don't need to be the wisest person in the world. You just need to know something valuable that others don't, and make it hard to get anywhere else. You don't need a fleet of ships. You need a platform, a network, or a skill set that creates dependency. You don't need kings traveling to your palace. You need people who can solve their problem without you. The Bible doesn't shy away from this. Proverbs 243:4, likely written by Solomon himself, says, "By wisdom, a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge, its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures." Notice the order: wisdom first, structure, second, wealth, third. It's not luck, it's not inheritance, it's sequence. So what does this look like today? Let's get practical. Solomon's model works in 3 modern forms. 1. Become the go-to expert in a narrow field. Solomon wasn't a generalist. He knew everything about plants, animals, governance, and construction. He went deep. Today, that's the consultant who knows one industry better than anyone. The coach who solves one specific problem. The creator who teaches one skill at a level no one else does. Monopoly creates premium pricing to control access to what's valuable. Solomon made people come to Jerusalem. Today, that's the gated course, the private community, the application-only program, the wait list. When something is freely available, it's not valued. When it requires commitment to access its treasure. Solomon didn't just stack gold. He built ships, trade routes, alliances. Today, that's the entrepreneur who takes profit and builds a team, a platform, a product line, an audience. Wealth that sits still dies. Wealth that moves multiplies. Now here's the tension. Solomon's wealth didn't save him. 1 Kings 11 tells us that in his later years, his heart turned away. His many wives led him to worship other gods. His kingdom split after his death. The system worked, but the man failed. So the Bible isn't saying, get rich like Solomon and you'll be blessed. It's saying wisdom can build an empire. But wisdom without God is a foundation on sand. The model works, but the model isn't the point. The purpose behind the model. So here's the real question. What rare knowledge do you have? What problem can you solve that others can't? What would people travel for metaphorically or literally if they knew you had the answer? Because Solomon's business model isn't about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being the most valuable, and value isn't about what you know. It's about what you can do with what you know. Solomon built a kingdom on wisdom, not because wisdom is magic, but because wisdom applied correctly creates solutions, and solutions create wealth. The Bible laid it out thousands of years ago. The principles haven't changed. The tools of the sequence is the same. Learn deeply, serve strategically, build systems, steward well, and remember, the wealth is never the goal. It is the proof that the system works. The goal is what you do with it. Solomon forgot that. You do not have to think about that.